most of you have already seen this cover, I'm sure, if you've been on any of my social media pages or anything like that. But I wanted to go take you through the process of what it's like having a cover designed for one of your books. And in the traditional world, they commission artists to create these covers. And my editor emailed me one day and asked me if I had any sort of vision for the cover. And although I love art, I am not an artist, and I do not have any kind of skill whatsoever in that department. So I told her that I didn't really have any input. I didn't really have any ideas of what the cover could look like, and I was pretty much easy to please. So I gave no input whatsoever, and they went ahead and commissioned an amazing artist whose name I will tell you in a little bit. The first cover that I saw depicted the main character, Polly, and a boy who is also important to the story named Greg, and it showed just their faces. Polly's face was facing the reader, and Greg's face was the opposite. It was just the back of his head. And it had the same raindrops, but it was just the faces of the boys. And I loved it, but then when I clicked on this cover, I knew that this one was going to be the one that I would choose for the book. And I'll tell you why. It's because there is this scene in the book that is pivotal to Polly's emotional turning. And it's a scene, Polly has a problem with the rain because something tragic happened to him in the rain, happened to his family in the rain. And all throughout the story, he's kind of grappling with this, but there's this turning point where he and Greg are standing in the rain together, and they're looking up at the rain, and they're coming to terms with the memories they have about the rain. And this cover just depicted that perfectly. This turning point, this emotional healing that happens in a small way. There's a lot more to go in the story. And I just thought it was the perfect cover for The Colors of the Rain. The artist who designed this cover is Chris Silas Neal, who is an award-winning illustrator and writer. He writes his own picture books, and then he illustrates for other people, and also does book covers, which is fortunate for me because I get to have a piece of his art living on my book. And here's the conversation that I had with Chris Silas Neal about the cover.
Well, thanks for talking with me.
Yeah, of course.
I've been an illustrator for about 15 years.
Okay.
I started making art for magazines.
Yeah, I saw a New Yorker piece that you had shared. Yeah. It's really cool.
Right. So I started by making art for places like the New Yorker and the New York Times, and did that for a number of years. And then after a few years of doing that, I also started doing book covers.
Okay.
And then in 2009, I was contacted by Chronicle Books.
Cool.
To illustrate a book called Over and Under the Snow.
I've seen that one, yeah.
And so that published in 2011. And from then on, I've been making picture books and have written a few of my own now.
Yeah.
A book called Everyone,
okay,
which is about feelings.
Yes, I saw that, and I loved it because feelings are a big deal to kids.
Yes.
So
they're a big deal for me.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I have kids, I realize that they're a big deal for kids.
Yeah. That's super cool. Yeah.
I've written a book called I Won't Eat That. And that's about a hungry cat who doesn't like cat food. Which I have one of those. I have a big orange tabby who doesn't like his cat food. And I have kids who don't like their food sometimes too.
So you make the connection. Pets sometimes are, I tell people all this all the time, pets are like a window into, it's like the first step for a kid to see, oh, there's someone else in the world, besides me. So it's brilliant.
Yeah. And I have 2 board books that I've written.
Okay.
they're part of a series. One's called Animal Colors and one's called Animal Shapes.
Awesome. Very cool. Well,
Yeah.
I hope that that people will check it out. And I just have to say that I feel really privileged and grateful that I get to have a piece of your art living on my book. The first time I saw one of the cover that's on it right now, I just like started crying because it was so perfect for everything that happens in the book and this like pivotal moment that happens there. So I was really curious about the way that you came up with that and how you work with your covers.
My process has evolved a little bit over the years.
Uh-huh.
It almost always starts with reading a book.
Okay, so do you read the whole thing or do you just
Yeah.
Okay.
So it usually starts with reading the manuscript.
Okay.
And from the beginning, that's how I've always made a cover.
Uh-huh.
When I got the call for your manuscript, the art director had pulled out a few lines of verse that he thought were pivotal.
Oh, okay. That's helpful.
Yes, and one of them was the two main characters looking up at the rain.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I definitely, I try to go in with a clean slate, like anything as possible. But I knew that would be an idea, is having the two characters look at the rain.
Right. Okay.
In addition to whatever other ideas inspired me as I started reading your book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many do you just do like one main cover? I know for mine there were two, but do they usually ask you to do like more than one mock-up of, different things? Because it seems like that would take a really long time for an artist.
Yeah, and it can be time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually start with pencil sketches.
Yeah.
They're really rough. And the nice thing about pencil sketches is I can come up with ideas without having to worry about the details and get too labor intensive.
Right.
I'm not restricted by the number of ideas. And oftentimes the publisher will like several ideas.
Oh, okay.
And so ideally they'll just like one, but sometimes maybe it's two or three that I'll do a tighter color sketch.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll do that on the computer. And because I'm working on multiple sort of final looking things, that often also affects what kind of art I'll do for a cover. And I usually try to keep it really simple so that I'm not spending, 3 weeks doing a detailed image and it's still just a sketch.
Yeah, yeah.
And it ends up ends up working better that way anyway, because my philosophy on a cover is it just really needs to be striking and catch people's attention.
Yeah.
Strike a mood.
Yep.
And so you can strike a mood with just a little bit of color or just a little suggestion of a character or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love I've seen it on some of your other ones too, just the simplicity of, I don't know, it almost feels very pure, and I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's like it's just your style, you have
Right.
that style, and I think it's awesome. So thank you so much for the beautiful cover and for all of the work that you do, because it's very necessary. Even though it seems like, I was just the cover designer, but it's a big deal. So we appreciate you.
Well, thank you for saying so. And really, the pleasure was mine. And I wish you the best of luck with
Thank
the
you,
book.
Chris. I appreciate that.